Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us learn one more advanced topic on S3 bucket. So let's say I want to protect my object present in S3 bucket from deletion. How? How can I do this? Versioning is one way that I already know. I hope who watched the previous video they know versioning. But even after versioning is enabled, also, we can able to delete object by using SDK command. What is that command? Delete object versioning ID, right? Yes. Now, I am expecting for a property in S3 bucket to stop even this type of deletion, for certain period of time. Now, is there any way possible? Then I researched in S3. Then I found a property called object lock. By using object lock, we can able to protect our object from deletion, and this object lock does not even allow users to modify the object. So let's see one real-time scenario, use case scenario. So every company need to maintain some legal documents for certain duration of period because of company rules and policies, privacy policies. So now in this scenario, if you store this data files as object in S3 bucket and you enabled this object lock, whatever the object lock you have, that you enabled this property on the bucket, then even root user uses with one mode. That is, even root user cannot able to modify or delete your objects which is present in S3 bucket in one mode. So can I say in this way, you can able to save your data for certain duration when object lock with some mode. Yes. So by using this object lock, what we can able to do? We can able to stop modifying or deletioning of your object in S3 bucket. In previous scenario, I have explained about object lock in one mode allows us to protect object from modification or change and deletion from any user, even it may be root user or any user. So what is that object lock mode, sir? So I want to protect my data in that way. Is there, what is that object lock mode? That object lock mode is compliance retention mode. What is that object lock mode? Compliance retention mode. So if anybody asks you why we use object lock compliance retention mode, then what is your answer? In order to protect my data or objects present in S3 bucket from users, all users, including root user as well. So what type of protection we are providing? Modification or deletion we are avoiding. That type of protection we are providing by using object lock compliance retention mode. So by using this object lock compliance retention mode, we can able to protect our data for only certain period. For only certain period. What do we call that certain period, sir? We call that certain period as retention period. What is the period? Retention. So if anybody asks you when do you use this object lock compliance retention mode, then what is your answer? To protect your objects from change or updation or modification and deletion for certain period of time, for retention period of time from all users, even from root user as well. So in order to provide this type of protection, you use this compliance retention mode. Sir, you said in the object lock we have this compliance mode. Do we have any other mode as well? Yes, there is another mode as well. So what is the other object lock mode, sir? That is governance retention mode. What is that mode? Governance retention mode. So what can we able to achieve in this mode, sir? Why we use why we use this mode, sir? Let's say now I want to provide object lock to my whole bucket or some object. That means objects are object where that object lock will protect objects from all users. So what is the task of this object lock? To protect all, to protect your objects, right? Yes. So from whom? All users. So remember this point, all users except certain users having specific policy for specific period of time. So let me write it. So when do we use this governance retention mode? We use this governance retention mode in order to protect my data, in order to protect my objects from change and deletion for certain period of time or else for retention period of time from all users except users having specific permissions. So now which users having which permissions can able to modify or delete my data set. So users having the following three permissions can able to modify or delete your data. So what are the three permissions? In order to know the retention, object retention, they have the get object retention mode. And in order to know the object lock configuration, that is which mode it is configured, object lock. So in order to get that object lock configuration, user also need to have get object lock configuration. If the object lock is governance mode, then in order to bypass this governance mode, user also need to have bypass governance mode permission. So these are the three permissions that user need to have in order to change and delete retention period or objects which are present in that retention period. So how many different object lock modes that we have seen till now? Two. That is governance retention mode and compliance retention mode. So when do we use compliance retention mode? If we want to protect our data from for certain period of time from all users, if you want to protect your data, then use this compliance retention mode. If you use this compliance retention mode on object, then even root user can't able to change or delete your data till retention period of time. So if you want to provide some governance to certain users, except to those users, no user can able to change or delete your data, object data, then you can go for this governance retention mode. Since you are providing governance to certain users, you are using this governance retention mode in the object lock modes. So who can able to modify your data? Users having these three permissions can able to modify your data. What are these three options? Get object retention, get object lock configuration, and bypass governance mode. So who are having these three permissions can able to modify your content or objects which is present under governance retention mode. While configuring object lock, what are the two things I need to provide? I need to tell what is the object lock mode, right? Yes. I need to tell object lock mode. I need to tell this object lock mode. This is the first thing. And what is the second thing? You need to tell how much duration, right? You need to tell what is the certain period, what is the retention period, right? Yes. What is the retention period? That also you need to provide. These are the two things that you need to provide while configuring your object log. Okay. Now this object log is bucket level or object level. That means, can I able to create this object log for bucket level? That means for all objects at a time? Yes, you can able to create object log for bucket level by using a default configuration. And can I able to create object lock at object level? Yes, you can able to create object lock at object level as well for specific particular objects. So if I want to enable this object lock while bucket creation or after bucket creation, you have no option. You must need to request AWS by customer support. That's it. They only able to enable your object lock after bucket creation. If you want to enable this object lock while bucket creation, then while configuring your bucket, there is an option. There is an option under advanced settings. What is that? That option is object lock. Under that, you have a checkbox. You need to enable that. After you enabling only, you can able to your bucket lock will be your object lock will be created. So remember, there is one more important point. Before enabling this object lock, you must need to enable versioning. So before enabling this object lock, you must need to enable the versioning for this object lock. Like this, in configuration option only, you can see versioning that you must need to allow it. That is that you need to enable it before you enabling this advanced feature, that is object lock. Then only object lock will be enabled. After versioning only your object lock will be enabled. If you do not enable this object lock, if you do not enable this versioning, then this object lock won't be enabled. So whenever your object lock is enabled, this versioning can't be able to disabled or suspended state. So whenever your object lock is enabled, in that object lock enabled state, you do not able to disable your versioning or suspend your versioning. While configuring your bucket, under the configuration options, first you need to enable your versioning. After that, you can able to enable your object lock under configurations under advanced settings. So in this way, you can able to enable your object lock while creating your bucket. Once we enable this, object lock, then this won't be disabled. That is, this object lock will be permanently enabled only. We cannot disable after once enabling this object lock. Okay. So whenever I enable my object lock, can I able to disable my versioning? No, we cannot even able to disable our versioning as well, because once you enable this object lock won't be disabled, and this object lock depends on what versioning. So versioning must be enabled, right? Yes. Once this object lock is enabled, the versioning can't be disabled or suspended. That means once we enable the versioning, we can't able to disable it. That's obviously true. But here we can't even able to suspend this versioning once this object lock is enabled. So when object lock is enabled, since it will be permanently enabled, versioning also must be permanently enabled when object lock is permanently enabled. So now let's say I enabled my object lock at bucket level. Now I uploaded a object to my bucket. Now is that object acquired this object lock? No, this object won't acquire this object lock because we haven't configured any default configurations. If we configure any default configurations, then the default configurations of object lock will be provided to every object which upload into bucket. So now let's see how to configure. What are the things that I need to provide in the default configurations? So previously only we discussed while configuring your object lock, you need to provide object lock mode and retention period. Those are the two things that we need to provide for default configuration. So after providing the default configuration only, we can able to provide object lock for every object uploading to bucket automatically. To provide this default configurations after your bucket creation with object lock enabled. So you can see under the additional settings of your bucket that you have created with object lock, you can see under the object lock, you see the option like tick mark and permanently enabled. So whenever you click on it, if you want to set your default configurations, then click on this. Under advanced settings, you can click on this. This is present under the properties tab. So whenever you click on it, then you can see like this, a pop-up will be shown. So object lock, there you need to provide your object lock mode, whether you need to set to governance mode or compliance mode, or you don't need to set to anything. And retention period. So if you set either to governance mode or compliance mode, then you need to provide this retention period as well. And then just click on save. So let's say I'd like to enable governance mode, and I clicked on governance mode and I put default retention period as 1000 days and I click on save. Then again you got confirmation. So here you need to write confirm and just click on confirm so that your default configurations will be set now. So that your default configurations will be set now. So after providing the default configurations as well, when you add an object to the bucket, when object is added to the bucket where that bucket is having object lock enabled and this default configuration is also configured, then what happens is that in that object metadata, a timestamp will be added. What added? A timestamp will be added to the object metadata. What does the timestamp provide, sir? That timestamp provides your retention period and that will be updated based on your duration. After your retention period, then you can able to delete. If you want, you can able to delete that object after the timestamp gone finished. This is the thing which happens after object lock is enabled to bucket and you added the configurations as well and you added an object to the bucket. A timestamp will be added. So based on it, after your timestamp finishes based on your retention period only, after that only you can able to delete or change or modify your data, modify your object which is present in your bucket. Now let's see about object level specification. Now let's say I haven't enabled my object lock at bucket level. Now I want to provide this object lock for certain specific object. Then how can you able to provide, sir? So to provide this object lock for particular object, open S3 service. Under that, open the bucket where your object has and open that object as well. Under the object, you can see the option called properties. So just click on that properties. Then you can able to see object lock. You can able to see object lock property. So just click on it where you have three modes available. That is One is enable governance mode, enable compliance mode, and disable. So this disable won't provide anything for object lock. To disable the object lock, this is the option. So if you want to enable object lock at object level, then open object, and under the properties of that object, you can see object lock. Under that, you need to provide, let's say I want to provide governance enable, governance mode enabling. So just click on it and just need to provide until which date you want to provide your governance mode, that you need to provide here. So no, under this you have to provide retention period as well. Actually, I have already applied my object lock to my bucket. So that's why it is showing retain until date. So what does this retain until date indicates? This retain until date indicates your object will be retained until that particular date. That means your object lock will be already created at bucket level. So if you don't create your object at bucket level, then this retain until date won't be visible to you. So if you want to create your object lock at object level, then you first need to select this. Then you found a retention period here. There you need to provide how many days you want to provide. And you have one more option at object level. That is, that option is legal hold. There is another option available at object level to increase the protection from all users except users with S3 put object hold. Users with S3 put object legal hold permission. This legal hold element, for the legal hold element option, you don't need to even provide the detention period until a user with S3 put object legal hold permission disables this legal hold permission. No one can able to delete the object where this legal hold permission is enabled. So if you enable this legal hold permission, then no one can able to delete except after you disabling this legal hold permission. Who can able to disable this? The user with permission, put object legal hold permission. Those can able to disable this. So after disabling this only, you can able to, anyone can able to delete this object. So by using this also, you can able to provide protection. So if you choose this legal hold permission, then you don't even need to provide certain retention period. How much time you enable this, that much time it will be enabled only. So if you disable this, then you can able to delete the object. This is one more option under S3 object, where you can able to provide object lock, that is legal hold. This legal hold option is not available at a bucket level. At object level, you have also seen one more option. You have seen how to enable this object lock by using either governance mode or compliance mode. And you have also seen one more option. What is that? Legal hold. So for this legal hold, do you need to provide any retention period? No, we do not need to provide any retention mode. Okay. So after enabling this legal hold under the object lock in your object level for a specific object, who can able to disable this? The user with permission. The user with permission. A user with permission. What is the permission? S3 put object legal hold. Put object legal hold. Put object legal hold. So a user with this permission can able to can able to disable this legal hold after you enabling this. Can able to disable legal hold option. So after disabling this, you can able to delete. So whenever your legal hold option is enabled, then also your object will be under locked state, and you can able to protect it from deletion. So this is about object lock in S3 bucket. So now you covered one more advanced option, object lock in AWS S3 bucket property and object property as well. Let's have a quick recap on what we have learned till now. How can we protect our object in S3 bucket from deletion? By using versioning enabled, we can able to protect but in this way also delete object versioning ID command can able to delete the object. So if you want to protect your data for certain period of time, instead of deletioning from any way, even root user don't want to delete that object, then you can go for this object lock. In this object lock, particularly you go for the compliance mode. There, if you use that mode, then no user, that is even IAM user or a root user, can able to delete your object or modify your object. So if you want to provide some governance over your object or bucket for particular users, then you can move for governance mode. So what are the permissions that a user must need to govern your bucket or objects? S3 get object retention and S3 get object lock configuration and bypass governance mode. So who are having these permissions can able to modify or delete your object which is present in your bucket, where that bucket is created under the governance retention mode default configurations. So to provide object lock to your bucket, so what are the different levels of ways that you can able to provide? Bucket level you can provide and object level you can provide. So if you want to provide at bucket level, then is it possible for me to provide this after creation? After bucket creation, can I able to provide this? If you want to provide after bucket creation, then you need to request AWS by customer support. So if you want to provide while bucket creation, then you can able to provide from the configurations. For that, you first need to enable versioning, and then you need to enable what? You need to enable this object lock. So in this way, you can able to enable your object lock. Now you just enable your object lock. You haven't provided any default configuration specifying that your objects will lock based under which governance mode and what is the retention period. To specify those configurations, you need to go under bucket advanced settings. Under that, you have seen the object lock enabled, permanently enabled. So there you click on it, then you can see the option called object lock. There you can provide the default configuration if you want to enable governance mode or compliance mode or none. So I want to enable governance mode, so I clicked on governance mode and provided some 1000 days retention period. I clicked on save. Then you got the confirmation. Here you need to write confirm and then click on save, so that your default configuration is also saved. So once you enabled object lock, can I able to disable my versioning? No, we cannot able to disable our versioning. So once I enabled object lock to my bucket, is that object lock is enabled permanently? Yes, your object lock will be enabled permanently. So when my object lock is enabled permanently, do I able to change my versioning from enabled state to suspended state? No, we cannot able to change. Obviously, we cannot able to change my versioning from enabled to disabled normally. So here, if you enable object lock, then we cannot even able to change our versioning from enabled to suspended even. Okay. So if I want to provide object lock at object level, then you open that object. Let's say I haven't provided this bucket level object lock and I want to provide this object lock at object level. Then you open that object. There under properties, you can see a object lock. then you click on it. There you can see the governance mode as well as compliance mode. You can enable them and provide the retention period. If you already enabled your bucket lock, then it will show you like this: retention until date, which indicates you already provided a object lock on bucket level. So here you can able to provide your object lock as well. So there is another object level object lock. What is that object level object lock property possible? Legal hold. So by using this legal hold also, you can able to prevent your object deletion from other users. So when you enable this object legal hold, nobody can able to delete your object. And after disabling this legal hold, can only your object will be deleted. So who are the users can able to disable this? The users with the permission put object legal hold can able to disable this. After this disabling only, your object lock will be disappeared and you can able to delete your object. So this is all about. Object lock. This is all about object lock in AWS S3. So I hope you understood this. I hope you understood this video and you got some advanced knowledge on one more advanced bucket option, that is object lock. So if you feel our video is contentful, then please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. See you back in the next video with another content. So thanks for watching, guys. See you back in the next video. Until then, bye bye.